Hey you guys, welcome back to my channel. So clearly things look a little bit different in these parts. I have a completely new revamped filming setup, and I'll be getting into why, because there is quite a long backstory and a lot of stuff that I have not really told you guys about that I feel like I need to fill you in on. I know I have not been the most consistent uploader in 2020, especially compared to the last couple of years, and there are some really good reasons for that. I just have not been in a place to fully really want to talk about all of it until now. Now that being said, this video is not going to be like the happiest and most lighthearted, so if all you care about is makeup and having fun, this video it's not going to be negative, but it's definitely going to be a little bit more serious, and I'm going to be talking about some more serious personal things. So if that is not something that interests you, feel free to not watch this video. But if you want to know what's going on with me, want to know what's going on in my life, and you also just happen to want to watch me create this look that I'm wearing right now, that's what we're going to be doing today. So anyway, with all that being said, let's rewind the clock and get into today's getting ready with me. So as you guys can probably clearly see, I already have my base makeup done, and that is because I tried filming this video once already today and then had to stop so many times that I decided to just like take a quick break and try again. I took Kira to the dog park this morning, hoping that if she ran around and played, that she would get some energy out and that maybe she would sleep during, like, you know, the early afternoon so I could sit down and film. Alas, she got really dirty. I had to give her a bath. Then she had like the post-bath zoomies. She knocked over my tripod. She ran into the other room and peed on her dog bed. So like we've just had a bit of an adventure so far this morning. So I apologize for not showing you this part, but quite frankly, I haven't used anything new or done anything different. I used my Too Faced Peach Perfect foundation and Makeup Forever Matte Velvet Skin Concealer. And to be perfectly honest, I think I'm going to spend more time today chatting with you guys and updating you on what's going on than I am going to be talking about the makeup and what I'm going to be using. I do have a couple new things to test out. I have this face palette from Pixie that I've been meaning to use, so we'll slap that on my face. And then I also couldn't resist. I picked up the Star Wars, the Child palette, so we've got little baby Yoda on here. I just loved this color story. I thought it was super, super pretty. I don't have anything like this in my collection, and I mean, come on, baby Yoda. So hopefully the distractions and interruptions will be minimal from here on out. Also, I am running the washing machine downstairs because I naturally needed to wash the dog bed that my dog just peed on, so I apologize if that is making any weird noise in the background of this video. So anyway, hi, how are you guys? It has been way too long since I have sat down in front of the camera and filmed. Clearly, based on what I just said, it has not been for lack of trying or lack of desire. It has just been really hard as per late. I've had a lot of big major life stuff going on recently that I have not filled you guys in on yet, and that's kind of what I wanted to do in filming this video, to kind of explain or give you some context as to what I've been up to, why I've been so inconsistent this year, and hopefully set some expectations for how things will go moving forward for my channel. So if you're someone who has been following my channel, you know, since the beginning, or at least for the last couple of years, you may or may not know some of the backstory of my personal life. But I got married in 2017. My husband and I chose to elope at the time because I was planning on quitting my job so I could pursue my certification as a professional coach. I was so burned out in the job that I had been working at. I'd been there for 8 years, and it was a really emotionally demanding job. I was exhausted. I was really unhappy. And so I think a lot of our decision to get married was to kind of allow me the freedom to get away from that job. Ryan was able to put me on his health insurance, and we saved a bunch of money by not having a big wedding, so I didn't have to worry about not having a steady source of income for a while. But I think to an extent, because of those factors, we perhaps, I don't want to say rushed into the decision, but I think that it probably was something where we weren't really thinking about long term the consequences. I mean, we loved each other. We had been together for 3.5-ish years when we got married. But I think there were a couple of things that we knew could potentially become an issue down the road. And I think both of us were kind of hoping one of us would change our minds in the future so that we'd be on the same path. But needless to say, the short version is that we did not end up being on the same path over the 3 years that we have been married. And I think things really came to a head last year around the holidays, like Thanksgiving time. We had a really big fight. There was just, things were just not that good, and we felt at that point that breaking up might be the best thing for us, especially if we wanted to maintain any kind of a friendship. But, it was the holiday time, and we had, obligations to see family and friends, and that's a big decision to make. So we decided to kind of put it off and sort of really think about it, and kind of reevaluate early at the beginning of 2020. And then, of course, as we all are aware, the pandemic hit at the beginning of 2020, and that really put a wrench into our plans, because, living in Connecticut, we were one of the first states that was affected by the pandemic, and we had to lock down fairly early, and neither one of us really wanted to be socially distancing in isolation. So again, we kind of put off the decision to separate or to break up, and kind of hold out. And I think in the beginning, we were kind of figuring that maybe things would get better by the summertime. So we were kind of hoping to wait it out. But clearly, as we all have learned, this pandemic is not going anywhere anytime soon. So that no longer really became feasible. Now, there is an additional piece of this puzzle that also plays into the timeline of things and what's been going on and why I have been kind of stressed, and it's been difficult for me to film as much as I wanted to this year. So right also around the time that things kind of took a turn for the worst last year, I got a new job, and this was a temporary position at a company, but it had the potential to become a full-time position, and it was a contract that was set to go through the end of May. So I knew I would have full-time employment at least through May. So I think the timeline in our minds originally was that, we'd get through the holidays, get through the beginning of the new year, Ryan could start looking for a new place, and that maybe he would move out in the spring, I would get hired at the company I was working at, and then I would be kind of all right on my own to be able to pay my mortgage and all my bills, and we'd kind of take it from there. But that did not happen, and because of the pandemic, the place where I was working couldn't offer me a full-time job. They did extend my temp contract, but they just had other priorities in the company because of the pandemic. So that kind of also additionally made us want to hold out a little bit longer to see what would happen. Now, I will also say, just as a preface, because I haven't said this yet, Ryan and I are on perfectly good terms now. We still care about each other. We don't hate each other. It's not like a toxic, terrible type breakup situation. And I think over the course of this year, we've been able to kind of emotionally process everything together. One of the nice things about staying together through the pandemic, even though we knew we were going to break up, was that we were able to kind of process through all those emotions together. I will say he is a very good communicator, and so am I, to our credit. So now where we're at, I feel like emotionally I'm doing a lot better, but it had been really up and down over the past year. I will definitely say that a good chunk of like my disappearing at random times over the last year has just been my needing to emotionally process the end of our relationship, and also my stress over not knowing what I was going to be doing with a job. On an aside from this very heavy topic of conversation, this palette, really pretty. I'm definitely liking the way my cheeks are looking. I've always been a big fan of Pixie's face products, their powder products. I think they're really, really beautiful. So in short, to kind of sum up the timeline of things, Ryan and I made the decision to break up, but didn't break up. Then the pandemic started. Then I found out that I wasn't going to get hired at the job that I was working at least not at that moment. And then I was stuck in the middle of a pandemic with Ryan, and we just kind of were in a holding pattern, waiting to see kind of like what was going to happen next to make a decision about what we were going to do. Now, in the midst of all of this, for better or worse, I decided that I wanted to get a dog. And I think that part of my thought process was knowing that Ryan was going to be leaving and that I was going to be alone. I think the idea of having something to take care of and something to keep me company and emotionally occupy me was very appealing. And I also love dogs. My parents have a dog. She's a 6-year-old Maltese Yorkie mix, and she's so stinking cute, and I love her to pieces. And I always enjoyed, dog sitting for my parents and watching her. So with the pandemic and knowing that I was working from home every day, I figured, I'd been thinking about getting a dog for years. It was just finally the time to go ahead, bite the bullet, and do it. So I would say from about April until when I got Kira in July, I kind of threw myself full on into trying to find a dog. I was applying at different rescues. I was researching breeders. I was researching what type of dog I wanted to get. I kind of set my heart on getting a Cavachon because the breed was sort of everything that met my needs and preferences in a dog. And then when Kira came along and I had the opportunity to take her home, it was a really quick turnaround. It was like basically the span of a week between when I saw her and when I brought her home. And I had to make the decision very quickly because there was other people who were interested in her. So I think even though I had been considering getting a dog for a while, the fact that everything happened so quickly with Kira was almost like a little bit of whiplash, especially for someone that's never owned a pet before. So Kira came home with me on July 11th, and she was 9.5 weeks old at the time, and it was an adventure. I will say, and I've mentioned this in previous videos, having a puppy is a lot harder than I expected, even though I expected it to be hard. Like everyone tells you that it's really difficult and challenging to have a puppy, and I thought I understood what that would mean, but I'm sure it's much like having a child. You can't really fully appreciate how hard it is until you actually do it. And that's not to say that I don't love my dog. Kira is wonderful. She has the best temperament. She's so friendly. She gets along so well with other dogs, with little kids, with pretty much everybody. She's just a total love, and I don't regret my decision in getting her, but it has been very, very physically and mentally challenging for me over these past couple of months of raising her. Now again, I made the decision to get a dog full well knowing that Ryan and I were going to be breaking up. So she is my dog. Ryan is not on any of her paperwork. I knew she was going to stay with me and belong to me. And while Ryan did help me while he was still living here, I feel like the majority of her training and care all fell on me because she was my dog. And I think that is the piece that I definitely underestimated, was how difficult it would be to do essentially by myself without a whole lot of help. Because I think for a lot of people, when they get a dog with a partner, or they have a family and their kids and their partner are helping share some of that responsibility of taking them out for potty breaks and training and playing with them and all of that. And that's pretty much all fallen on me, while in the meantime, I'm still working full-time from home. And really, I think that has honestly been the biggest reason that I have struggled to film, because I don't really have anyone to watch Kira when I'm trying to film. And up until very, very recently, she just wasn't old enough and trained well enough to like be left alone. And like, I could put her in her crate, but again, up until very recently, she did not do well in her crate and had really bad separation anxiety. It has gotten better as she's gotten older and more used to me leaving her alone. She's more comfortable now here and in her routine, so she doesn't freak out if she's not within like my line of sight. But it took a while to get there. It didn't happen overnight, and it really has only been very, very recently that I feel like we've been able to make progress in that respect. Now, to add on to this already intense situation, a couple of weeks after I got Kira, a good friend of mine asked me if I would be interested in interviewing for an opening at the company she worked for. And at the time, I was still a temp at the job I had been working at, and they hadn't given me a clear indication as to whether or not they would be able to hire me at all, and if at all, within the year. So I thought to myself, honestly, like it would be silly to not at least try for that position. I really needed the security of something full-time, and the company she worked for was one she always spoke really, really highly of, and they seemed to have a great culture. So I decided to go for it. I ended up getting the job, which I was really excited about. But again, I don't think I fully appreciated how challenging it would be to have a new job at the same time that I had a new puppy. And on top of all of this, the job is in a completely different field that I've never worked in before. I'm working in finance. I was previously working in medicine and in pharmaceuticals. So like total 180 career-wise for me. So in addition to learning a brand new job, I've also been needing to learn like a brand new industry, which is, a lot. So that new job started in mid-September for me. So it's been not quite 2 months that I've been there. I'm finally starting to feel like I know what's going on, but I'm still definitely a little bit in that drinking out of a fire hose stage that occurs when you have a brand new job. But yeah, needless to say, the first month was really quite intense for me because this new job involves a lot more meetings and a lot more of me being on like Zoom calls than my previous job, which has also made taking care of Kira additionally difficult. Like the first week of this new job, I was on a Zoom call. There were like 10 minutes left of this meeting, and Kira was pawing at the gate, which is her signal to me that she needs to go out and go potty. And of course, here I am sitting on this call, and like I can't leave. And Kira, just staring at me the whole time, goes over in the corner and just pees on the carpet. And I'm just sitting there like ready to pull my hair out because I'm trying to housebreak her and she's giving me the signals, but I'm blatantly ignoring her, but I'm home alone and there's nobody else to take her out, and it's kind of like, what am I supposed to do? Fortunately, things have gotten better both in the potty training front and in the job front now that I kind of like have a little bit of a better feeling of what I'm doing. But yeah, it was pretty rough. And of course, let's not forget that my relationship stuff is still all happening in the background of all of this, and we're still in the middle of a pandemic, and I haven't really been able to see my friends. I haven't really been able to go out and do much of anything. So I don't think that was necessarily the best for my mental state either. Now, when I got offered this new job and I knew I was going to be set for a while, Ryan and I kind of revisited our conversation about us separating again and kind of decided that, you know, we didn't really have an excuse anymore, and we were kind of at the point where we, you know, had to actually move forward with what we talked about. So he ended up finding a place, and he's actually living close by, which is nice. So we can still visit with each other, and he can still come over and see Kira, but he has been moved out now for 3-ish weeks or so. And surprisingly, I have been in better spirits than I think I thought I would be, but I'm sure a good chunk of that is also that I've just been very, very busy with the puppy and the new job. So yeah, that essentially in a nutshell is what I've been up to in 2020. It's been a year. It's been a really heavy, intense year, I think, for a lot of people. I know I am definitely not the only one that's had a lot of personal stuff on their plate in addition to being in the middle of a global pandemic. And honestly, I think one of the things that has been hardest for me and that has made me the most upset is not being able to be as consistent as I want in filming for my YouTube channel, because I love doing my makeup. I love sitting down and filming and hanging out with you guys. And it's just been so hard to make it happen between Kira interrupting me and me having days where I'm just like too emotional and not in a good place to want to film. Like, it's just been a really difficult year for me. And I know, like, you guys are the sweetest, kindest, most understanding people. So I'm not really worried about the judgment of it. I think if anything, what is hard is that, you know, I'm already feeling isolated from people in my real life, and also feeling kind of cut off from my online community is just kind of like a double whammy. Not to mention the fact that I feel like I had been working really hard the last couple of years to grow my channel and to improve my content. So to be so inconsistent over the last year really has hurt me in that respect, because the YouTube algorithm does not like it when you're not consistent, and that's because it's a robot and not a person, and it doesn't take into consideration any of the things you have going on in your life. So it's always a little disheartening when I do finally have the opportunity to film and I do get out a video that, you know, a fraction of the number of people that normally see my videos end up seeing it. And it's not that I care about fame or having a huge following. I really don't, and I never have. But, you know, when you make content, you want people to see it and enjoy it. And I know that there are probably a lot of people who are missing my videos and not seeing them, and they're being buried in their feeds because YouTube is not, you know, promoting them because I haven't been posting consistently enough. And that just makes me super sad. Now, I'm hoping that things will get better and easier, and you may have noticed that my background looks significantly different, and that is part of my strategy to get back to filming and get back to doing some things for me. So I am currently in my guest bedroom, and when Ryan was living here, his bedroom furniture from his old apartment was all in here. So when he moved out, I was essentially able to reclaim and redecorate this space, and I decided to make this room my dedicated space for filming. I love my loft and my bookcase, and I've loved that background so much in the time that I've filmed in that space. But with my new job, I'm working remotely from home. I decided like that space would be better served as my office space for my day job. So I've shuffled a whole bunch of things around. I've been reorganizing and redecorating, and now I've got a new beauty setup. Now, given the way that today has gone, as an example, I'm definitely still going to face challenges when it comes to filming because I still have a puppy. Even if she is being a little bit more well-behaved, she still gets into things, so you know, I still have a road ahead of me, but I feel hopeful at least that we've started to turn a corner. So anyway, I am done with my face of makeup, so let me zoom you guys out and we can wrap things up with a few final thoughts. So I'm not really sure how exactly one wraps up a video like this. I feel like I just threw a lot at you guys, and at the same time I feel like I also didn't say a lot because I didn't really get into the nitty-gritty details, and I'm sure some of you will be curious, but honestly I don't really feel like it's appropriate to share those details on the internet. I sort of feel like the broad level overview I gave you is kind of all that I'm comfortable with sharing, especially knowing that it's not just about me, it also is stuff that involves other people. So I will ask that you just respect that privacy and not ask specific questions about why Ryan and I are breaking up. I will say that I couldn't ask for a breakup to go any better than it's been going. Ryan and I do love each other and we do care about each other very deeply. We're still very good friends. I think we just came to the realization that long term, for our happiness, we want different things and we're ultimately growing apart from each other, and had to make that tough decision. And I think that we kind of drew it out long enough and that it was just at its point where we needed to move on to the next phase of our lives. But it's still going to be an adjustment, you know, getting used to living alone again, and now living alone and also taking care of a tiny fluffy animal. I will say that my parents have been absolutely amazing. They fortunately live very close to me and they have been such a huge help with Kira and also just giving me a place to go and be around people so I don't have to be alone, because I haven't been able to see my friends as much as we're trying to stay socially distant. A lot of my friends have had babies this year, so we're trying to be extra careful since COVID is still out there. So it's been really nice to have some support in my life, and my best friend Brittany, she has been so awesome and so supportive, and she also got a new puppy this year, so it's been nice to have our puppies kind of play and grow up together. So I guess my point is I am doing okay, but I have up and down days like any person. I've got a lot on my plate and I'm trying to do a good job of having realistic expectations of myself, and that is why you just have not seen as much of me. I've known that I can only do so much. I'm only one person, and that right now my mental health takes priority, adjusting to my new job and taking care of Kira, making sure that I actually get sleep because she wakes me up at 5:30 in the morning. So I hope you guys will understand where I'm coming from with that. It does make me incredibly sad at times, and I do really miss filming and taking pictures for Instagram and just having the time to watch YouTube and comment on other people's videos. I feel like I've just been really out of the loop and it sucks, but it is 110% my intention to get back to doing this. And I think creating this new space for myself has been a nice project to kind of reconnect with that energy. So I hope you guys like the new background. I am liking it, and I think it will honestly be a little bit easier for me to color balance and to get good lighting and exposure in here, because I can more easily control with studio lights what the lighting is like, and I have a more neutral background. So yeah, you guys will have to let me know what you think. And anyway, my camera is giving me the blinking light of death, which means my battery is about to die. So I think that's probably a good sign that I need to wrap things up. But thank you guys so much for hanging out with me and for being here. If you're watching all the way to the end, I appreciate you so much. I miss you guys. I really do intend on being back and making more content for you very soon. I hope you all are staying safe and well in these crazy COVID times. And I appreciate you sticking around despite the fact that I have not been posting as much as I would like. So yeah, on that note, I love you guys. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and I will see you in my next video. Bye, guys.